Hi, I'm Katie, but I'm better known as Miss Estruch online from Miss Estruch Biology, and now my new side business as well, Miss Estruch Teach and Tell. And I'm going to be talking you through my journey from the very beginning to how I've ended up here with an online business that has enabled me to leave my teaching job this year and have far more time and financial freedom. So for me, this actually all started back in 2019. That's when it really began, at the very end of 2019. And I'd created a YouTube channel for my students at school just to help them to learn basically outside of the lessons. And it was taking me hours to do. They loved it. It took me hours, but I then decided to leave it because I didn't really know what the point was because it was taking me so long. And it wasn't with the intention to start a business. I then went back and looked at some of these videos a couple of months later, and for what I thought was very, very low quality, just put together videos, I realised I had nearly 1,000 views on these. And it was at that point that I thought, if I actually put some effort in and created what I thought was higher quality videos, then potentially these could do really well on YouTube. And that's where it all began. So I started to do a little bit of research into what Google AdSense was and how you become monetized on YouTube, to set myself a goal of knowing that I needed 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. That's changed a little bit now, but that's what it was when I was aiming to get the advertising status on YouTube. I also wanted to make sure I had the entire A-level covered on my YouTube channel. So I set myself these two goals: get all of the content up, try and get 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours to become monetized on YouTube. I started to create all these videos, and at this point I wasn't a parent, so I had lots of free time in the evening, and I just went for it, filming, creating videos. And I did a very basic version of how I made the videos. I'd have my PowerPoint. I then had a program which I used for free originally called Screenomatic, which is basically like Loom, and it records your screen. So I'd talk over the PowerPoint, going through it as if it was teaching a lesson, and upload it to YouTube. And I started to get some viewers, but it was very, very gradual. And for me, when it all kicked off was COVID. So I started this right at the end of 2019, the start of 2020, and then schools closed in the middle of March 2020. And at that point, teachers like myself, because I was also a teacher, had to start teaching online. And many schools were not equipped for this immediately anyway. So they didn't have ways to share digital resources with students. They didn't have ways to have live lessons. There was just emails, and that was always in place for most schools initially. And that was when my channel took off, because teachers realised they only had emails. What could they do? And they started looking on YouTube for lessons that they could direct students to. And I was in the same situation with my students, so I was simultaneously creating all of these videos to try and help my students, and lots of other teachers were starting to use my videos with their students. So for me, COVID actually was the big catalyst that started my YouTube channel to really boom. I found out I was pregnant in February, and then I think it was March or even April time that I found out I was twins. So I then had set my goal that I was going to have every single video uploaded before they were born, because I realised I was going to be very busy and have my hands full by the time they were born. So that's exactly what I did, and I managed to get all of the videos uploaded. I think I uploaded the final video like 5 days before they were born and got it done. So that's a bit about how it all started and why. Originally it was just to help my students at school. Then it was kind of my own personal challenge. I wanted to see if I could do it. And then when I found out I was pregnant with twins, I did it from the point of view of, I knew I was going to need more financial freedom to help support me with twins, and also time freedom, thinking ahead to when they're at school. I'd really like to be able to drop them off at school, collect them. So by that point, I'd started to set myself a longer term goal of, can I turn this YouTube channel into something bigger that will make me financially able to quit my teaching job? So then I can just be fully self-employed and work flexibly around my family, and hopefully have more money than I could get from my teaching job. So for me, there were quite a few people that were really supportive of me starting the YouTube channel and creating all those videos. There were a couple of people who did actually say to me things like, you realise you're probably going to get bored before you get big enough to make any money from YouTube. It's going to take you at least 2 or 3 years before you get any traction. It takes a lot of time and effort. And I was already aware of all of that. I knew it wasn't going to be you post a few videos and suddenly you're an overnight success. It was going to be something that you had to put time in, consistency, and realize it takes a period of time before people start to see your videos, and it will build from there. So that side of things, I did get that feedback from some people, but I just had to have that confidence in myself that I know I'm a very dedicated, committed, and stubborn person. So when they were saying that, I was like, oh, just you wait and see. I will not give up. And I knew that because I'd set myself that goal of I want all the videos up, I will become monetized, and I want to have that freedom. I know what I'm like as a person, that I would not give up until that happened. So it depends what kind of personality you have, because for some people, I think that would be a real knockback to be told constantly, well, you won't make it, you're going to get bored, you'll give up before it happens. But from my experience, as long as you keep educating yourself, keep trying consistently as well with your uploads, and it does work. Some of the other things that I then got were, as my YouTube channel did become monetized, again, that happened the week before my twins were born, my channel became monetized, which was very helpful with maternity leave, having that extra revenue income from my YouTube channel. Not that it was a lot at that stage, but by that point, when I was on maternity leave, I then started to think, well, how can I expand this further? And while I was on maternity leave, that's when I created my A-level notes that I then start to organically advertise through my YouTube videos, because the money you get from YouTube isn't loads. It's not enough to be a salary, or at least for me it's not. And then I knew I had to have other revenues, so I started with those notes. And this is where I came across, again, some people giving opinions which were coming from a good place but not necessarily helpful, but my stubborn nature kicked in again. That's when I started to get people worrying, and when I say people, it's mainly like some family members, some friends, when I was saying, well, I think if I can get my notes out, I'm going to sell this amount, then I can make another product, then I can do this and keep building and building, and then maybe in a few years I can leave teaching. And it's when I said that, leave teaching, the panic kicked in for some people that knew me, because all they heard was your stable job with a regular income linked with a pension, you get sickness pay and everything. You are going to leave that and go fully self-employed in a business that could crash. You don't have sickness pay if anything happens. You have to sort out your own pension. So they were very worried that I was just being irrational and jumping into something. But luckily I did have the support of one of my best friends who did something very similar before. She left her full-time job to become a photographer and made a huge success of it. So she was fully backing me and just kept saying, like, I know you are very dedicated. I know what kind of person you are. And if you put your mind to it, you will be able to do this. So people are going to say that because they're worried, but don't listen to it. Don't let imposter syndrome kick in, and really go for it. So that's what I'd say if you have had any of that sort of feedback as well, or maybe you're worried about it yourself, that should I leave a secure, regular paying job for my own business where you don't have any of that security? You've got to realize that if you are putting in the work, dedication, setting things up, then you are going to be secure. And for me, I make so much more money, not that it's all about money, but I make so much more money from my business than I ever did as a teacher. And I can work probably about a quarter of the time, maybe a bit more sometimes, like exam season. So I can work less, I get paid more money, I'm my own boss, which I love, and I get to be as creative as I want, do loads of things that I'm really enjoying. So it's been an absolutely amazing move for me, and I love all the new skills that I have managed to learn. So if I talk you through that bit next, how did I learn to do all of this? Because my background is I have a biology degree, I then did my PGCE in secondary school science, and I went straight into teaching. So I've been teaching since I was 22, 23, and I've been in schools ever since. And it wasn't until 2019 that I started a YouTube channel. And that actually came about from a teacher training course I did, where they showed us how to make a blog really easily and how to make a YouTube channel, with the intention of you're providing some free resources for your students outside of lesson. So that was the very first place I got my education from on it. But then after that, when I decided I was going to really go for it, I taught myself everything for free using basically YouTube. So I went onto YouTube and I just searched for how to make a YouTube channel, how to make the banner, how to brand a YouTube channel, how to get good SEO, and like all of these things I would just search for on YouTube and make notes, follow the instructions. And from that, there were a few key YouTubers that I followed. So for me, Catherine Manning, who used to be called The Content Bug, I learned so much from her. Her channel has kind of changed now. She's more a vlogger, but her early content taught me loads. It's Modern Millie as well. So she does teachers loads on Instagram and YouTube. I learned lots from her. Vanessa Lau, who's actually now taken a step back from YouTube, but I learned lots from her. Katie Steckley as well. Oh, and Jade Beeson. Those are like my 5 key people that I would follow. I've realised now they are all women, pretty much same age or a little bit younger than me. So that might just be I was attracted to them because I could like resonate with them. So there'll be loads of other people out there. I guess see what suits you, what you like. But I found those 5 incredibly helpful. And like I said, everything I learned about YouTube and then Instagram and then TikTok came from those 3. As well as Catherine Manning's side, I learned a lot about the branding, creating a website. And I actually created my own website for free originally using WordPress. And then when I got my first payment from YouTube, which I think was something like £60 in the first month, but I then realised with exam season, I think I thought I might make from YouTube in my first year, maybe £1,000 or £2,000 across the whole year. And once I realised that, at this point, I then thought I'm going to start spending money on my business and investing in myself. Because up until that point, everything I did myself in terms of creating the YouTube channel, website, resources, I taught myself it all for free on YouTube. But I always heard Catherine Manning say, if you can afford it, pay for someone to make your website from the beginning, pay for someone to do your branding from the beginning, because it is so much work to unpick everything you've done later down the line. So although I'd made my free website, I then decided I'm going to put all the money that I think I'm going to earn from YouTube in this year into paying a website developer to create my website, my branding, my logo. And I think I paid them something like £2,000, and they created all of my website, my logo. I've got 2 logos, my brand colors. So we worked together a lot, had lots of meetings. I filled in lots of questionnaires for them, told them about my niche, and then together we created the whole brand. And then from that point, I made sure I used my logo on everything, even the font. So she designed me a font that's used on everything. All my brand colors are used consistently across all my social media platforms, my email marketing, my YouTube channel, all of my resources. And that's such a key thing that I learned from these YouTubers, that branding is key. You need to be consistent, identifiable by it, so people can recognize you across all the platforms. So it was at that point I then, like I said, went from free teaching myself, doing everything myself, to realizing now I'm getting a bit of money in. It's probably going to be worth it if I start putting some money, investing in myself and in the business. And that was my first investment, paying for someone to make the website and all the branding. Later down the line, so I actually didn't pay for anything else for quite a long time, apart from little plugins that I needed for my website. But later down the line, I did then start to pay for other things. So I actually paid students to work with me to help me create some of the resources. I paid them to do proofreading of my resources, because it got to the point where my time was very much pushed to the limit, being a full-time teacher, head of science, running this business, a mum of twins. So I started to pull back a bit and realize, what do I literally need to do myself, because it needs my skill set or my face for the filming? What could I pay someone else to do? And that's where I thought it'd be good to use students, because I know from experience of being a teacher, they can find it really hard to get work experience or paid work because they're seen as not qualified enough. But also I knew they were so tech savvy, they'd be amazing for this job, and they're doing A-level biology, they'll be right on top of all the content. So I got some of them to help with, like I said, assembling my notes that I wrote the content for. They assembled it. I got them to proofread. Some of them I gave one resource and asked them to turn it into another. So that was another sort of paid stream that I went down. I did then also start to invest in my education more of knowing how to do things. So I paid for a course on email marketing, systems at scale. So this was all Amy Porterfield. So I paid for some Amy Porterfield resources to help with that. I joined Jade Beeson's Creators Club, which gave me loads of monthly help. I'm now also in the Insta Club Hub as well. So I do invest into my business so that I can now exponentially increase my skill set so I can completely stay on top of my game. And then more recently, I have started to pay for a video editor. So I've had that for short form content on TikTok and Instagram, and long form content on YouTube. I've paid for video editors for about a year now, because around exam season, I just realized I couldn't pump out content quick enough. And although I could do some basic edits, it would have taken me a lot of time to improve my editing skills. skills, and I didn't think that was a good use of my time. I'd be better off paying someone who's already skilled to do it, who can do a better job and do it far quicker, and then it frees up my time to do things that only I can do in my business. So I paid for a video editor. I also got a virtual assistant who is kind of like a virtual assistant, a social media manager, a business manager, and a friend. She does so much for me. We work together loads, and I pay her for, I think it's 15 hours a week that she does things like writing my emails, scheduling Instagram content. She helps create my online courses. She helps create my online masterclasses. We have quarterly briefs. We set goals together. And I've had her for maybe a year and a half or 2 years, and it was a big expense, but I'd say it's doubled, nearly tripled my annual income, which may have happened anyway as my channel grew, but a lot of it is definitely down to investing in having someone more skilled in those areas, being able to help me with ideas and also get double the amount done, because I can do this, she can do that. Same with the YouTube videos. Being able to outsource that has freed up so much time, so I can now invest my time into creating new resources or more online courses. So you will find that at some point it will be worth the money to pay to have contractors to help you, and that's when you can scale up your business way more. So that's a bit about my story, how it all began, why I started it, how I've grown it from that point. Where I'm at now, I am a part-time teacher. I went part-time this year, and I'm planning on handing in my notice in March to finish this year. And then that means from next year, I would have hit my goal of being fully self-employed, having time and financial freedom. So for me, that began 2019, 2020, and in 2024, I will have achieved that initial goal. I could have done it earlier, but because of issues surrounding my mortgage, I had to wait. So I suppose I couldn't have done it earlier then because of that. But it took me about 4 years. And now I'm confident that next year, going fully self-employed, I'll be able to keep building Miss Estruch Biology. And now I'm going to have my other side business, Miss Estruch Teach and Tell, which is going to be aimed at teachers and teachers who might want to follow in the same footsteps that I have. So I can see how both businesses are going to be able to scale more and more. And it's in time that I will be able to take my children to school, drop them off, collect them, and have that time and financial freedom that I always wanted. So whatever your goal is, whatever your start point is, what I'd say is you can teach yourself so much for free. If you are dedicated, consistent, you will get there. It's not going to be immediate. It's not all going to be constantly positives. There'll be ups and downs. There'll be challenges that you face. But if it's something that you truly want and you put the time and effort into it, there's always a way to make it happen.